Hello, guys. This is Diego from Warsibu, Spain. And thanks for joining another week to the Convector Developer Office Hours. Um, Sorry for last week. We had a technical problem. We ran out of internet and electricity, and we couldn't transmit last week. But for this week, I got a couple of surprises for you. We actually just this morning released a new version of Convector. It's just a minor version with just some patch, some bug fixing. Some of the things that we fixed for this release was the errors were not showing any real or useful information in the console when they were thrown. Uh, but if you try catch encode the errors when you were sending a transaction with Convector and you spec the responses property in the error, you will get an array of all the peer responses with the error. Well, in this just latest release, which is 1.3.4, we just released a feature that displays the error, the first error got in this array of errors in the console or in the response, in the oral response. So you will get a more useful error messages right now. This is really good because there have been a couple of problems in the past. Uh, because yeah, there was no really useful information shown in the errors. Quick, another good thing that we released today was the inclusion of the inter-chain code communication feature. Uh, as you may know, in the past, I have already demoed this feature in a Convector Developer Office Hours video. I think it was on number 3 or number 2, I can remember. Uh, but we didn't release it until this morning. So you gotta and check it out. Actually, that's a couple of things that I'm going to demo today. It's just showing the interchain code operability. Um, so I think there were no questions in the community. Let me just check real quick. Uh, yeah, looks like there is no standing questions in the Discord chat. And looks like there is no questions yet in the YouTube channel. So if you're looking the video live and through the YouTube platform, just put a comment in the chat below. This is a live video, so I'll answer all the questions while I'm on the video. Or if not, you can direct to our Discord group and to the questions channel and put all your questions in there. We can always come back to you and get a response and get a proper response for you. So without much more, I'll share my screen uh, to show you a little bit about the project that I have for you today. Alright, let me set this a little bit. Right, I think it's good. It's too much maybe. So I got I wanted to show you like a complex example. Actually, let me first design a little bit what I'm going to show you here. Um, New presentation. So I mostly wanted to show you a feature on how to use the inter-chain code communication feature that we just delivered in Convector. And I was thinking on so when you might want to use this, and a really good case or a really good example about this is using oracles. The term oracle in blockchain refers to an agent or a participant in a blockchain that has permissions to write to this blockchain. Um, sorry. Uh, and this organization is named Oracle. Oracle. Put this 9 maybe. Yeah. So an oracle is an agent or a participant in a blockchain that has right access to one or multiple blockchains, and it is trusted by uh, the members of this blockchain, and it's merely used to inject data from the outside world to another blockchain. So, for example, I'm going to create a blockchain A here, blockchain A, and this is useful, for example, when you got to bring outside data from outside the blockchain into another blockchain. So, for example, if you have a national uh, blockchain in your country, for example, and you register all the citizens in this blockchain, someone externally, like the blockchain doesn't have a way to figure out if a citizen is dead already or not, or if a new citizen was born. I mean, there is no representation in the hospitals from besides from blockchain, for example. They cannot read their like real world data. So the way that they get this data inside, it's by an oracle. So most of the people belonging to this blockchain trust that this oracle is going to be retrieving useful and valid information to this blockchain. Uh, Obviously, there's some concerns about, for example, if this oracle is trustworthy or not, and that's a really valid concern. And that's exactly why I wanted to demonstrate this using two blockchains. So I'm going to create a blockchain A, and I'm going to create a copy of this called blockchain B. Actually, going to official and call this fork. So let's say we have two blockchains, right? Um, which is an scenario pretty common in today's world. You got a lot of blockchains, and even in Hyperledger Fabric, each channel that you create, a channel is the actual ledger, so it's an actual blockchain. So if you have in Hyperledger Fabric multiple channels in a project, it's like if you had multiple blockchains in this project, right? So for the matter of sake, in the terminology of Fabric, I'm going to, this blockchain is actually a channel, and this another blockchain is actually another channel. And their name is official and name is fork. So in the official blockchain, I'm going to be storing payment informations. So whenever someone made a payment, I'm going to just put a P here, referring a payment. And whenever this blockchain gets a payment, um, I want to know from this payment from the blockchain fork, for example, and I want to react to this payment, and I want to get all the information from this payment. So this actually, I'm designing a store. So this blockchain fork, what it will contain is a store or products or purchases from clients and customers. And this blockchain official is going to be, for example, from the bank, and it will register all the transactions or all the payments made in the bank. The store that is going to be running, the store contract that is going to be running in this blockchain wants to know about when they receive a new payment from the blockchain, from this blockchain that is going to contain, for example, banking information. So the story goes like this. I'm a user and I want to make a payment. Right, I want to make a purchase. Yeah, so I want to make a purchase. So I send a purchase transaction to a contract hosted in this org channel. And it will register that me, Diego, made a purchase to their store, right? But this is more like an order. I put an order to this store. Now this store, I'm actually going to call this a store. This store wants to know when the bank gets a payment for this purchase, right? So then me as a user, I will then, after placing an order, send a purchase to the bank, right? Hopefully this is getting clear. If not, you please let me know in the comments. It's pretty kind of difficult to explain. Um, but okay, the story goes like this: you send a purchase to the store, and or you place an order to the store, and then you send a payment to the bank. Uh, and now the store needs to know about if this payment was registered in the bank blockchain or not. But they don't trust. They don't simply trust me that I will tell them, "Hey store, I already made the payment. You can confirm my purchase." They need to verify this. So I actually sent another request. It's a confirmation request, confirmation transaction to the store. Let me put this like text. Don't make a box new. Confirmation. And okay, so I sent a confirmation to the store with the transaction ID that I was sending to this bank. And what is going to happen, or what I will want to happen, is the store blockchain is going to query directly the bank and check if this payment was made or not. So in this case, there is no per se an oracle. An oracle in this case is just the bank blockchain, but I'm going to query this another blockchain directly from the store blockchain. And I'm going to retrieve the data, and if the data is correctly, I want to update the records and say that this transaction was complete. Um, so let's see how this looks in code, right? So I have a project here, and I have the official Chaincode, and the fork Chaincode. Uh, this Chaincodes actually contain the official contains the bank controller that I told you before. Um, let's just start first for the model. It has a transaction model. This transaction model is pretty simple. You just have an amount of the transactions, a reference for which this transaction is referring to. It's just a plain string. You can put in here any reference that you will use in your contracts or in your physical stores or your receipts or whatever you need. It has an identity of who made this transaction, and it just has this created value for the date of where the transaction was created. So yeah, it's pretty much simple. On the bank controller, what we have is a couple of functions. I have a function pay. This function pay receives a transaction. It assigns the identity of who is sending the transaction. It is saved into the ledger. And pay attention to this because this is new and fresh and really hot on Convector right now. It is emitting an event. uh, yes, controllers can emit events. They have always been able to do that. We just haven't shown in the documentation how to do this. We're probably going to release a feature soon about putting some syntax sugar about in the Fabric SDKs. But for now, it's pretty good enough for to consume it already. So all you need to do is calling this that transaction. Um, if you put this like that, you will have three methods: the identity, the stop, and get transit value. Get transit value is for when you work with private data. The identity is just an object containing the full identity of who's making this transaction, and the stop is the full Fabric object that got into every transaction with all the information and methods about things that you can do here. So if there's something you want to do in Fabric and Convector does not support that, um, always check this.tx.stop. It will have all the methods that you need to make anything in Fabric. So in here, you actually will see you can make deletes all, make all kinds of low-level calls that you don't really do when using Convector. You have a much more high level APIs for using Convector. But if you ever wanted to interact directly with the Fabric, you can use this object. And it happens that you have this set event method in here. The set event, um, actually, there is get stop. It's another matter, get stop. And this will give you all the fabric methods because there's more. Okay. So this set event method accepts two parameters. One is a string with the event name, and the other one is an object or whatever you want to send as the data for this event. So in this case, I'm sending the bank events transaction success. Bank events is an enum. So you can see here I'm defining this TX success, transaction success. And this is going to be the name of the event I'm going to be emitting. Um, After this, I'm sending the transaction, the full transaction that was sent, and which contains the information about what the user is paying, right? I have just another method that is get transaction. It gets an ID, it gets the transaction, check that it exists, and return it as a JSON. That's it. All right, so all this, I had it in one controller, but you will see that I have it in a separate package, in a separate chain code, because this is actually, this is being deployed in a separate chain code. Like if I do here, I actually have this installed already. Um, so if I run Docker PS, you will see that I have, well, I have the two peers, right? One for organization one and one for organization two. And because of that, I have four chain code containers. So I have two for organization one and two for organization two. And the two of them are one with the fork chain code, version 1.0, and the other one is the official chain code 1.0. Same thing for organization two. So they are being installed as two separate chain codes. They are not the same chain code. They are not the same. They're not two controllers installed in a single chain code. There are two different chain codes, right? So I want to make this clear because this was not being able before. What I'm going to explain you right now. So okay, let's move to the fork chain code. And let's open up the purchase model. So the purchase model is a pretty simple model again. Have some basic information like a customer identity, who's this purchase belongs to. It has an amount, the amount that they need to pay. And they have status. The status refers to this enum. Is created data as well in here as a number, right? And the store controller. Now go to the store controller. There's the first thing you will see if you're familiar with controllers already is that inside a controller we have an adapter. This is not something usual. This is not something you have commonly because you use adapters to invoke a chain code. So you commonly use adapters from either a unit test or your backend, or even a front end application to call your backend. But you ever you until now you have ever used an adapter with inside a controller. But now, since we're calling another controller from this controller or another chain code from this chain code, I'm going to need another adapter. This adapter is a special one. It's in chain code adapter. In chain code means because this is meant to be chain code calls between multiple chain codes, like the name. So what else do we have in here? We have a bank controller. So we're importing this bank controller that we declared in this different chain code just to get the fingerprint of how we need to send the transactions. We could, and this new feature of the in-chain code transactions doesn't require you that you have the source code of this another controller. But if you have the source codes, it's much more easier because you don't have to type um, all the function name, all the chain code name, and a couple of other details. And you have TypeScript completion. So if you are making a call from another convector controller from within inside one convector controller, you can just import that controller like the one that I'm doing here, bank controller, and use it. It will be just as straightforward. If you don't have the source, and I will show you an example of how that looks like. Let me check where it is. There you go. So I have we have in the unit tests a test for that example. So if you go to our source code, you will see I'm making a call to first, connect to third. Yeah. So if you want to make a call to another controller or to another chain code, which you don't have the code, you make use of this adapter raw invoke method, and you pass the full chain code, the controller name with the function name, and you pass the parameters, and just like that. So yeah, this is another parameter actually. So this is the way that you invoke a chain code which you don't have access to the source code. If you do have access to the source code, you just do something like this. Yeah. It's a second controller config. You pass the information about where the channel is, what is the chain code, and you make the invoke. You have to do the same here. All right, so back to example. Let's see where we're. Okay, so we have the store controller, and this store controller has three methods. Yeah, three methods. It has a buy method. It just simply receive a purchase, assign the identity, and save it. Nothing special. So it's just storing data in your ledger. You have also this get purchase method that will just do the same, just retrieve purchase previously saved, and if it doesn't exist, it will throw an error. And you will have this extra method, this check purchase. So this check purchase, instead of it like receiving a confirmation about the payment, because receiving a confirmation of the payment will be trusting whoever is calling this function that they are honestly send you writing information that exists in another chain code or another place, right? And instead of that, it just receives IDs. It receives a purchase ID and it receives a transaction ID. So first thing I do in here is I call the purchase get one to get the full purchase object that was registered before in here. And the other thing that I do is an interchain code call. So I'm calling the bank controller, which I initialized in here with the adapter in Chaincode adapter, right? I'm calling the bank controller with this config, and I'm sending the transaction. I need to send the transaction. I need to send the channel, and I need to send which chain code I'm invoking. So I'm invoking on channel one the chain code name official. This is running in a chain code called fork, but I'm going to call the chain code official, and I will get just an invoke to get transaction, which if you remember, just return the transaction information, right? And yeah, just like that, I will get my transaction, and I will make some comparisons. For example, if the purchase ID is not the one that we put in the reference of the transaction, then the transaction that was sent to verify does not belong to this purchase. And the other thing that I can check if the amount doesn't match, the purchase amount in the transaction that was paid doesn't match, I will update the purchase status to the client. Otherwise, I put the purchase status to approved, and I will save this purchase. And yeah, just like that, I'll show you a little bit of how to test this is working. So I have some tests for official, but they're pretty basic. They're just that they will accept a new transaction, save it, and that's it. It's not very much interesting in here, but the interesting test is in here in the store. So in the store, I will be initializing two Convector clients, one for the store controller and one for the bank controller. I will initialize a new adapter just for the store. This is like creating a new chain code just for the store. Uh, in this, I'm just passing the information. It will this adapter I want to initialize with the store controller. Remember, this is a mod controller adapter. And in another new controller, mod controller adapter, I will initialize the bank controller with the bank chain code, right? Uh, After doing this, the way that I link chain codes in unit tests is by doing this. Again, this is for unit tests. You don't have to actually make this in real life uh, blockchain running. You don't have to link them somewhere or somehow. This is just for the tests. So I will call store adapter, which is the first one, where I want to invoke to the another one. Stop that mock peer chain code, and I will pass the name of the chain code and the channel's name. And I will pass also the stop or the official chain code, which was this one. Alright, so after doing this, I will create a new purchase, something pretty basic, just create a new purchase, save it in the store, and that's it. The status should be processing, right? It shouldn't be approved on the client yet. Let's see, yeah. And I have another case in here that you should create a purchase and pay it. So in this case, I'm making a new purchase. I'm saving it. I'm calling it store control Y. And after that, I'm going to create a new transaction. And instead of calling store controller, I'm going to call the bank controller, which, if you remember, is running in a different chain code. And I will send the reference to the purchase ID. So they are linked now. After this, I'm going to make a call to store controller check purchase. And if you remember, check purchase, what this is going to do is uh, it's going to make an interchain code call to make sure that the purchase was already, that the payment was already processed by the bank. And if it does so, it will update the status to approved, right? So I'm calling on a call to store controller get purchase with purchase ID to verify that it is approved. I also have another test for the ground snares. I made a purchase with the amount of 5,000, but I made the transaction to pay this purchase with 4,000. So it will be enough funds. And after calling check purchase, the store should update the status of this purchase to the client. So I'm going to run this unit test, npx learner run test, and the scope is for controller, which is this one, and the test, yeah. So let's run them. Let's check the video. Oh, shit. Okay, there you go. We got a success, but give me 1 second to check if there's questions. Okay, no questions yet. Cool. So yeah, this is it. This is the unit test succeeding. If you check in the logs, you will see I'm calling to store by. After that, I'm going to store get purchase to verify that. Yeah, that's good. Should create a purchase. Okay, that was verified. Now it should create a purchase and pay it, which is this second scenario. Should create a purchase and pay it. You will see in the logs that it made a transaction to store by with this information in here. It then make a call to bank pay to pay this purchase. And here's the information, the amount is right. It then made a call to store check purchase, which is, this is going to make the interchain code call and update the status. And then I will get the bank get transaction at the end of this function. Oh, no, sorry. When I call, check this, yeah. When I call store check purchase in here, you will see the next function that is being shown is bank that get transaction, but you will see there is no invocation like this in here. This is because it's actually the chain code invoking that transaction. So when I call check purchase, I make this bank controller get transaction method, which is this bank get transaction with the ID that was provided. You'll see that. And after that, when I get a response, I will make a store get purchase. And that one is in here, store that get purchase. So boom, this is verified and it all marked as approved. It's good. And yep. And I get this other call that is doing the exact same thing, but I'm paying less than the amount of the purchase. So it will make the status to be declined, and a store get purchase, a store get purchase. So yeah, it looks like it works. All right, guys. Let me check. All right. So I told you that I was going to get events, and let me show you something. So the way that this will work, so just explain the path again. We got a purchase made to the store, then we got a payment made to a bank, and now we need to somehow be notified that the bank processed the purchase to send a confirmation to the store. So this can actually be a method that is not being called by these identities. This can be called from a node side. For example, from the store owner, they will want to make this invocation by themselves and not referring or not trusting that someone else is going to make this invoke. But they need to know somehow that they received a payment in the bank for this store. So what they will going to do is they're going to be subscribing to an event. Let me see if I can. Looks like I can't. Yeah. Well, anyways, they're going to be notified by an event from the bank chain code in some backend application that they will have running. In my example, it's a Node.js application that I have running. So they will just be subscribing to an event running from the chain code. We'll put event. And, that. So yeah, this is going to be an event, and they're going to be notified to a backend, and the backend is going to be making a call to this check transaction. What's the method? Let me check purchase. So they're going to make a call to get purchase into this blockchain, and again, this blockchain is going to make a interchain code invocation to the bank to get all the information and store it right in the store. So how the code of this looks like. I have another file in here called listener. I have a couple of functions. I have a fabric controller out there because this is going to invoke a controller in a chain code. This is going to invoke the store controller to make the check purchase method, to call it check purchase method. Yeah. So I configured it with Hurley. It's running with Hurley locally. I'm calling the organization one and blah blah blah. Everything is the same. I'm initializing the adapter, and after this, I am creating this hub. The hub is the way that you listen to events on Hyperledger. So I'm first getting a peer, the first peer for my organization with this code. Then I'm calling to the channel where I'm running this, which is channel one. I'm creating a new channel event hub using this peer, and I'm getting this object in here. and I'm just calling hub.connect. This is everything you need to do. You need to pass through in here if you want to get the data of the event when you receive the event. Otherwise, you will only get the event name, but you won't get any data. Um, yeah, right. Yeah. All right. So the other thing that you have to do is have that register Chaincode event. It actually has some other methods like register to a block event. So you can register and make sure that you get notified every time a new block is added to the blockchain. You can register to a transaction event. A transaction is when you send an invocation, for example, to make a new transaction to the blockchain. You may get events from this, like if it's the client or if it's a success. That this is the event hoop actually that we use in Convector under the hood to make sure that a transaction was um, made correctly or successfully. And you can also register to a Chaincode event, which are events that you emit from within inside the Chaincode. All right. So you register to this event. It will ask you the Chaincode ID. The Chaincode is official. Remember, the event that you want to register is the bank event transaction success, which, if you remember, was the one that we were sending here. Yeah, transaction stop set event, bank event transaction success. And you provide a listener for success. You provide a listener for errors, and you provide this parameter. Yeah, this parameter is the one that will get you the data of the events. If you don't provide this parameter, you will get the data blank. I can't remember which was this true about. But anyways, so whenever I get a new event about transaction success in the bank, um, blockchain, in Chaincode, sorry, I'll do a console log that I got an event. Uh, I will be parsing the transaction data. It comes as a buffer, so I got to event.payload, convert the buffer to string, and then do a parse of this to JSON to get actually the transaction that was sent to me. And after all this, I will make a call to the store controller, check purchase with the transaction reference and the transaction ID. So remember, this is all that we need to verify um, in the other, or to make the other chain code communication, so that the store controller can verify the transaction was made in another chain code. So again, I'm not giving it the data. I'm not giving it, hey, chain code, here's some new data from the outside world. I'm just letting the chain code know that they should go and query the other chain code. So this is really helpful and secure, because I'm not providing data, or I'm not trusting that anyone from the outside is giving me data. I'm just letting the chain code knows that they should go and query this other data. Now, if they trust or not this bank chain code, or that depends of the business or the configuration that you have in your network. Everything that I have to say about this is that you need to have read and write access to the chain code to make inter-chain code communications. If you want to write data, it will be only possible if you're in the same channel. If you are making cross-channel event communication, you will be only able to query the data, not to write it. So you will only will need permissions to read the data, not to write it, because you won't ever write anything else. So yeah, just like this, I will send the event, and this will complete the loop from the bank reacting to an event, responding to this event, and send a confirmation to the store, so the store can go to the bank and retrieve the data and store it right in the blockchain. So hopefully this all makes sense and this is clear for you guys. I was going to run this example. It was just giving me an error while invoking. I already got the fork with an store register in here. So I already registered one event, and actually we can check it out in here. Here, I got the CH1 fork, and it has an element with 81 and with the information that I need, which is this status processing, etc., etc. I was testing this just before the call, and it was giving me an error when calling the official bank pay. So let's figure out if I can fix it quickly, and if not, I will own you the demo for the next call, just real quick at the beginning. So I may call invoke official, which is the name of the chain code, bank, which is the name of the controller, and pay, which is on the name of the function, bank, and pay. That seems right. I'm sending the ID 5, the amount 500, and a reference of 1. This looks like it fits the model, amount, a number, reference is a string. This gets added. Oh, I'm missing the created. That's why. Created. And I will put just a random number as a date. See, I'm sending the transaction. Whoops, I get an error. Error status 500. Yeah, this doesn't tell me too much. So maybe try to check the logs of the chain code. Docker PS. So I'm actually, without even wanted to, I'm giving you a lesson on how to debug errors when you get on the chain code. So let's see, Docker logs. So what I did in here was doing Docker PS to get all the process, all the containers running in Docker right now. And I want to check the logs of the official chain code. So I pick whatever of the two official chain codes running, can be from organization 1 or from organization 2. I'll picking up the organization 1, and I'll put Docker logs and the name of this chain code container. It will show me the events. Actually, you can see how it's initializing everything. Um, let me see, register, blah, blah, blah. Transaction, timestamp, payload, time buffer, data, blah, blah, blah. All right, so at the end of the logs, actually, if you want to run in watch mode, you can put an F in here, which means follow. So it will follow the logs, it won't quit. And if I send any other transaction, you will be able to see, actually, well, let's do that. We'll clean up the logs. I didn't close it, I just clean up my console, and I will make the call to official pay. Yeah. You will see the errors in here. You will see that appears automatically. And let's see if I can get to the error response, the amount, proposal, null, chain code event, null, chain code ID, sending error message back to peer, name error status 500. No, so it's not wanted me to install this. I can do one of the things. Let's see, I got 10 minutes before the end of the video, and I have no questions in YouTube. So let's make this. If you hear a noise, this is my cat. It's meowing me for food. I will run the chain code in the book mode so I can see what is going on. So let's see, the package JSON. I will run npm run cc start the book. I got to change the name of how this is going to be installed, because it won't allow me to install the chain code again. See, install book. Yeah, no p chain code. All right, I'll put book in here. So I will install the book and official. Yeah, I'll run this. See, give it a couple of minutes or seconds. Let's run a build. Right. It's done with the build. It's going to install Chaincode. See. By the way, if you have any questions about anything that I just show you today, feel free to go to the YouTube for the next 8 minutes. Post any questions that you have here. Installing smart contract. Well, you gotta run an npm install, so it's going to last for a couple of seconds or minutes maybe. And since I'm broadcasting the video, it is slower than usual, so I probably won't be able to demo this. I got the other server that is listening, so I run this listener function in here, and I got this console log listening, and I'm listening already for events. I already registered the payment, but I registered the purchase, but I'm waiting for the payment event. That's why I need this another Chaincode to run. Okay, so it's running npm install already. Right, this is starting it, and there you go. So we are in the book mode, and it's running on ports 9991 or 9990. And let's see, we got the see, yeah, we got the to register the connection in here. Like this here, and it's a connection for host 9990 for the peer for organization 1. So we got the sources. Yeah, got it in here. I'll pause on exceptions, and I will send the transaction again and see what happens. Officials, just that I will make a call to official. What's the name that I put on it? Official the book. Send the transaction, and boom, I got an error. The property controller is off. No, this is fine. This is the one that is not fine. Official CC controller missing error config. Let's see. So in package, I have bank controller config controller, official controller, and I got. Okay, I think I got there. Yeah. Right. I looks like I missed a configuration somewhere else. All right. Looks like we will be able to run this to the end. Let me see if I made this correctly. This is bank controller. Yeah, this one is not official controller, it's bank controller. So it's up, and I will make an upgrade. So npm run cc start cc upgrade, and I gotta pass one parameter, two parameters, so official and version 1.1. So this, and make the call. It will install it and start the container as well. I'll show you something. Touch. So I can see in here what is it doing. Official, official, install official. Okay, since installed already. All right, let me see. May take a few minutes. So let's give it a few minutes. See if it runs correctly this time. All right, let's see. Again, if you have any questions or if you have any suggestions or want to collaborate with us and making open source tickets, you can always let us know in the Discord group. Um, we're always looking for collaborators to help us develop more new features. Um, so yeah, feel free to reach to us at any time if you want any help as well with the framework, or if you're having any problems and issues. Feel free to ping us on the Discord chat. I put the Discord link in the video description. Um, so yeah, I come on. You don't always take so much. It's over the time already. All right, just taking over and wrapping up the video from today. Uh, this new feature will allow you, well, I hope it makes clear that it will allow you to make any kind of complex stuff within Fabric that you can now make with Convector, like doing this kind of interchain code operability and having events and reacting to these events. This will allow you a much more rich experience um, with the framework and actually with the usage of Fabric per se. Uh, just a little announce or advertise in the video is that we, Warsibu, this week released some new features to our platform format. Uh, some members of the community have been asking us to show them and making a video about how to use Convector with inside format. So probably for next developer office hours video, we'll show you, or we'll dedicate a couple of minutes to show you how to install a Convector Chaincode inside the Forma platform. For those of you that don't know, Forma is a platform to orchestrate Fabric blockchains on multi-cloud. So we install it on Google, Microsoft, AWS, you name it, the cloud, on a Kubernetes service. So if you're looking for a solution to avoid having to do all this production infrastructure set up manually on your own, you can always go and check Forma. It's in our website. So you can check it out or ask us directly in the Discord as well. And yeah, we'll demo that for you on next week. See, come on. Send in the transaction as user one. And hopefully this time it will get correctly. Yes. So it's already running here. It's already running here. And I got a transaction response of success. If I go in here, oops, it failed. Why did it fail? Okay, so I got an event. You saw I was subscribing to an event, and I got the event, the official event. So I got the event in here with the amount corresponding, etc., etc. Everything looks good. And when I was making the invocation to check purchase, I got an error. No function of name store, check purchase found. Where? Store, check purchase, store controller. What went wrong in here? It's because I have to make another adapter with the Chaincode fork, because the the store controller or the store chaincode is not in the official chaincode, it's in there. fork chaincode. So, but yeah, this is just a matter of changing the adapter and initializing this client with the right adapter. I needed the official adapter to be able to subscribe events on the official chaincode, but I need the other adapter with the other chaincode to be able to subscribe to the events or to send transactions to the other chaincode. But yeah, I think the example was more than clear. I got the event working. I got all the notification and the data is shown in here. This data was coming from the event. You can check that in here. Got the event payload. Yeah. So yeah, this is working, and you can use events and you can use interchain communication right now in Convector. Just make sure to update to the latest version for the interchain communication is 1.3.4, if I'm correctly. Yeah, it's 1.3.4. I released it today. But yeah, thank you very much for joining to this Convector Developer Office Hours. And as always, put the questions that you have on the Discord and see you next week.